We are combining 2019 and 2020 this morning on the deep dive, and it was a year of the Tiger again. Back-to-back premiers in 19 and 20. 2019, the Giants were actually up at quarter time, but then just got belted. It was just Richmond all over. The Tigers winning by 89 points. Dustin Martin, second of his Norm Smith medals. Dusty, he had 22 disposals and 4 massive goals in that first grand final. And then I love this Geelong grand final after. So there's the celebrations of, look at that scoreline, 114 to 25, and then this was a ripper. I thought Geelong had them. At half-time, you thought, how far Geelong? But then Richmond again turned around. That man, Dustin Martin, another 21 disposals and 4 goals, and it was a fend-off where you just thought they're in trouble. Dusty kicked the goal, and they went on and won that at the Gabba. So it was two great sides, but Geelong fell short again, Damon.
Yeah, and Llordo, in the 2019 part of what we're talking about today, we had the extraordinary story of a 28-year-old who'd served time in prison, making his AFL debut. That man there, Marlon Pickett, who had the skill set, TJ, to do a pirouette in the middle of the ground to get the ball to the Castagna there, and extraordinarily polled votes officially in the Norm Smith medal. Again, the Norm Smith medal went to Dustin Martin, the second of his 3 at this stage, but it is one of the all-time great AFL storylines, what happened to Marlon Pickett on that day that year.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the 2 years, 2019 and 2020, let's look at the Brownlow winners from those years. And for the second time, that man, Fremantle's Nat Fyfe, took Charlie home with 33 votes. Yet another great year by him, being presented by Tom Mitchell. He did it 6 votes clear of his nearest rival in Patrick Dangerfield, and sealed with a kiss yet again. Then in 2020, this was a COVID Brownlow where there was probably 6 or 7 different functions around the country, and it was that man, Lachie Neale, who was presenting himself with the medal, and it was a very disjointed sort of a ceremony, but brought about obviously because of the pandemic, and they just had to make do with what they could make do with, but they're certainly making up for lost time tonight with the Big Bash back on in earnest at Crown.
TJ, 2019, Liam Ryan won Mark of the Year, and did he drive his knee into Max Gawn at this one? Round 8 in Perth. Look at the score, 67 apiece.
And stepped over him.
Over him. Absolute ripping mark there. And they went on and won that game, the West Coast Eagles, I believe. And then in the terms of the goal of the year, Eddie Betts has done it again. How many times can we do this? The same pocket, the Eddie Betts pocket. Fourth time he's done this, and you hear Rashudo the same time go, Eddie Betts has done it again. Outstanding goal, Brownie. 2020,
Sam Walsh, we saw him burst onto the scene, but the courage to go back and take this mark by Sam Walsh was extraordinary. You see him go back with the flight, and that it's not the classic over-the-top mark, but that takes enormous courage going back with the flight for Sam Walsh. Brilliant mark. And then Josh Dacos kicked goal of the year against Sydney at the SCG. So, like his dad, he just knows where the sticks are. This is when he was number 26. Handballs it underneath, goes one way, then the other. And then the banana against Sydney. That's a big goal.
It's going to be hard to go past him for this year's goal of the year. So I would have thought, Brownie, that goal he kicked against Essendon during the season. 2019, the year that Jaden Stevenson was caught wagering on AFL matches. We saw some moments like this where it's so unusual to see barrels being kicked, and some combinations of the wagers that Jaden had may have involved him kicking a certain amount of goals. It was dealt with by the system. He copped a suspension of half a season. It was a full season in totality. They suspended 10 matches of the overall 22-match ban, and he's also fined $10,000. And sadly for him as a player, it just has not been the same since that moment.
He burst onto the scene in that first year. He was unstoppable early in first quarter.
The rising star, and performed well early in a grand final.
We've just had a massive weekend of, a sellout at the SCG and a huge crowd at the MCG Friday night. Let's go back, though, to round 1 of 2020. And look what Richmond and Carlton had to run out to, how bad this was, and how soulless football became. Look at this, you could hear players calling for the footy that night, with no one actually there.
Scary time.
Yeah, it was scary time.
What was it to lie ahead for everyone's lives at that very point in time?
It was just a soulless round. I remember doing I think a Hawthorn-Brisbane game at the MCG on the Sunday. It was just no good. It was just no good.
And they shut the season down for about 9 or 10 weeks after that. They resumed, that time thereafter. But the decisions they made before the season even...
The AFL Premiership season will be reduced to 17 rounds. Every team will play each other once.
TJ, everyone's done an amazing job to get back to where we are now after what we went through.
Yeah, not just in a football sense, but in society, and we're still trying to recover in many ways, aren't we?